This is Dance Studio 411, where we answer your real-life questions about your toughest studio life predicaments. Parent problems, teacher turnover, student challenges, policy dilemmas, and so much more. Let's talk about what's keeping you awake at night and what you can do about it. Here are your hosts, Suzanne Blake Garrity and Jill Tyrone.
Welcome to Dance Studio 411. I'm here with Suzanne Blake Garrity. I'm Jill Tyrone, and we today are talking about the struggle and how it's real. These are 6 causes of dance studio owner burnout and how to prevail. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thanks, Jill. I'm excited to talk about this very important topic.
It is very important, and it's so important more now than ever. Passion-driven and caregiving roles are some of the most susceptible to burnout. And with chronic stress, we don't realize it until it's too late. This is the phenomenon called hitting the wall. It's pure exhaustion, lack of interest, no motivation, completely uninterested in the things that used to light you up, mental fog, and just a general feeling of blah. And again, the struggle is real and you are not alone, right, Suzanne?
Exactly. I think we've all been there. I think we come in and out of this, don't we, Jill?
We do. And there's certainly nothing like a pandemic to take an already susceptible group of people, us creatives and the dance teachers, the studio owners, and all the men and women who are, often parents and caregivers to push us just out to the wall. So people often talk about feeling burnt out, but Suzanne, what does that actually really mean?
Yeah, I think we throw around the word burnout more often than we need to. But I think today through this podcast, we're going to help you get really clear on that. So, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. It's caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Gosh, here we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. In fact, the World Health Organization, WHO, recognizes burnout as an occupational phenomenon, not an illness or health condition. And, Jill, that's caused some controversy because, how is it not an illness or a health condition? But we're going to kind of dig into what they mean by an occupational phenomenon. So what they say is it's that chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So really think about that for a second. Chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed, and it's characterized by their definition by 3 dimensions. Number 1, feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from your job, or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to your job. We're going to get into that a little bit today.
Mm-hmm.
And that reduced professional efficacy, which is, a fancy word for being effective. You're not able to produce your desired or intended results, which is sort of what you described at the top of this podcast. I think we've all felt like, I'm just like very ineffective.
Yeah, it's sometime or another, definitely.
Exactly. And so what I'm excited about and why we wanted to take on this topic today, and gosh, we've been talking about battling burnout for over 10 years here at dancestudioowner.com. And there's some new research coming out about burnout. And it's especially timely for us as dance studio owners and teachers because it really is getting into burnout is about your workplace, not just your people and not just maybe you personally. And I want to cite some research here that we're going to link in the show notes, but there's some new research from one of the leading experts on burnout. Her name is Christina Maslach, and she shows that burnout is closely tied to your workplace, your work environment, the dance studio where you're teaching, not just you personally. So I love this because it takes a little bit of that pressure off of us. As people would be like, just take a yoga class, or you need to de-stress more, or you need to go take a deep breath.
Go do some meditation. Yeah, it's more than that.
It's more than that. I mean, we're here to always advocate for your own personal health and well-being. We've always talked about that, and I would never say don't do that. But what I love about what we're talking about today is that it allows for you to get access to some of the causes of burnout that might be happening because of the work environment. So we're going to kind of dig into that. So in her research, and she did a survey and she has all sorts of indicators you can look at, but let's just go high level into sort of those 6 areas where you can be off center that lead to burnout. And
Excellent.
I think those factors, Jill, as we get into this, we want to note them not just for you listening as the dance studio owner or teacher, but just as a business person and a human being as
Mhm.
well. But also if you're leading teachers as well, because if you have a team of staff and faculty that are also feeling burnt out, this
Mhm.
might be a really valuable episode for not only you, but please share it with them if you find it useful. So let's get into those 6 areas. So the first is you have a perceived lack of control.
Yeah. And gosh, right now with this pandemic, it's putting us in, this all-time high of, things like parents texting at all hours. People are just needing you to answer a million questions. What is happening? What's the time frame on this? Where's the communication on this? So yeah, that lack of control, where the pandemic itself makes you feel so out of control, but then you have your whole team and then your clients and parents to worry about as well. So agreed. So number one is perceived lack of control.
Absolutely. Number 2 is the absence or mismatch in the reward of your work.
Wow, this is that time and effort mismatch. So if you're not feeling, the worth of it, and that indicator is off balance, like, is this really worth my time and effort right now? Is this really worth me putting more and more effort in? So yeah, an absence of or mismatch in reward. Excellent.
Exactly. The next one is probably where most of us listening are stuck, which is an unmanageable workload.
Yes, I would say that we are definitely stuck in this number three, unmanageable workload. It's just too much. We're doing too much. There's too many things. Deadlines are looming, or they're changing right now as things are turning, and we're facing maybe even more shutdowns at this point. Deadlines that you didn't think were going to happen now, maybe it would be later. Things are changing very quickly. So an unmanageable workload is a huge part of this. That's number three. So Suzanne, number four.
Exactly. Yeah, another factor, this is the big one, an absence of community support.
Missing support or not enough positive dynamic from your coworkers or your people. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about community and the support in a minute, as we go through, after we get through all 6. But yeah, we're a little isolated, and we're missing our people, our
We're missing
family,
our
our
people.
friends, everything. So I would say that's a huge one. Number 4 is top of my list right now.
Exactly. But number 5 is a lack of fairness. And people will say, well, that's not fair. You're going to share a little
Mhm.
bit about what you mean by lack of fairness.
Yeah, I mean, even constant criticism. So think about, even it just takes one person to give you a little bit of a critical remark, or come back to you and say that this isn't right, or want something from you that you're not able to provide. So we have that feeling of things just aren't fair. And what would bring that out more than a global pandemic? It's just not fair. But all it does is it takes just one person to kind of send you that email or call you out on social about something, and it just hits really hard.
Exactly. And lastly, I mean, gosh, I'm going through this list. I'm like, no wonder we're all burned out. I mean,
Right.
right?
It's a
Uh,
lot. It is
it's
definitely
a
a lot, but
lot.
we have some great resources, and we have some great steps to now, talk about this as we finish out with number 6. We're going to put you in the right place.
Exactly. Don't go too far because we've got great solutions. So, yeah. Lastly, it's a values mismatch.
Yeah, this is where your motivation comes in. Do you align today with your studio mission that you created? Maybe it was 6 months ago, 6 years ago, but maybe it's time to redefine that. Or, you just are not excited by what you originally set out to do. So we love mission statements, and we love looking at those and reevaluating and taking some time. So maybe your values aren't quite aligned with where they were, especially with the stuff that we're dealing with right now at this time. So take a look at your mission statement, and maybe it's time to revision that.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at some of these actions that you can use to move forward, whether you are now in this stage of awareness, prevention, or recovery. So what we know for sure is these pandemic times are really bringing out the fatigue for all of us. So our mission for our members at Dance Studio Owner has always been to help keep your passion for dance alive as you run and grow your business. So Suzanne, here are some of the ways we can help. Why don't you lead us off on that?
Exactly. So thanks, Jill. You often ask yourself, what can I do as an individual, as a studio owner, or as a leader of a team and a manager of staff? Everybody listening to this maybe is at different stages of their business growth, but I'd like to cite some research from Frederick Herzberg. He's also very well known in the research of burnout. And he's known for what is called the dual factor. It's called the motivation hygiene theory, which is actually sounds more fancy than it is. We're going to break that down. It's essentially what motivates us versus what basic needs must be met in order to maintain job satisfaction. So they need to be both addressed. So they're not independent of each other. You actually need to look at both areas. And so this is that access through looking at your workplace that I think will make you really get some insights on burnout here. Remember, not just you personally, not the individual is tied to burnout. Let's look at this through the lens of our dance studio business. So Herzberg's dual factors. Number one, the motivation factors. So for the studio owners, that would be challenging work for you and your teachers, recognition for one's achievements, responsibility, the opportunity to do something meaningful, involvement in decision making, and a sense of importance to the studio. So taking that one step further, Jill, when we look at this, those are your motivation factors that Herzberg identifies, here's what we are finding and what we've done throughout the years and what we continue to do with our members at dancestudioowner.com is we really support one another to create faculty meetings. Now we're doing it over Zoom, where you really take time to recognize the good work of individuals in the team. I mean, now more than ever, we need to give each other shout outs and acknowledgement. Perhaps it's working together on a community-based project or goodwill endeavor. Our whole big, giant, huge performance game has been shifted to, can we find celebration in the little wins, whether it's a small performance for a nursing home over Zoom or something really in studio that's celebratory. It's really important to identify those resources you have in your community to make you feel like you're giving back, even or if you're involved in some way. Asking teachers, parents, and staff for their constructive input. I mean, for all of you listening that are members, we advocate for constructive feedback as direction and on decision making. It gives you a powerful, remember that criticism you talked about before? If stuff just comes at you as criticism, it hurts, but we help you really identify how to gather feedback in a constructive way. We're also really here to advocate for you to create opportunities for lifelong learning. I mean, Jill, you and I we always try to take that beginner mindset. You've seen it, right? I mean, think about all the trainings we've introduced our members to. I mean, gosh, right now, if there was ever a time in a pandemic, it's to invest in yourself, whether it's a certification, say in a certain syllabus or program, or learning upping your own game around marketing. And that's what's great about all of our content on dancestudioowner.com. It's on demand. You can learn at your own pace. You can bring your faculty member and you can bring your office manager in to learn. So yeah, we do that also through our live coaching calls and downloads and resources. Anything else you want to add to that, Jill?
No, that was great. So I love that you're tying it all into really taking care of yourself and looking at not only you, but your entire workplace, because like we mentioned earlier on, everything seems so isolated when you talk about burnout to just the individual, but thinking about your entire team, whether it's maybe you and just one other person or a faculty member, that's a team. And it's important to keep everybody happy and healthy. And I love all the examples that you gave too, Suzanne. So
yeah, no, it's helpful. It's good. Sometimes it's shift in perspective. I mean, the second part of this, which is the access to getting out of or pulling yourself through the burnout, are these hygiene factors, which I want to basically sum it up as, think of these as business best practices. We talk a lot about best practices at dancestudioowner.com, which are things around salary and pay for you and your teachers, the work conditions, your policies, how you administer policies at the studio, what kind of supervision, management, training are you giving your faculty? What kind of working relationships are you fostering? This is sort of that studio culture conversation and that status and security. I'm going to give you an example of that. As a business owner, we have a lot on our shoulders. This is a big responsibility. And so we really get it and we support you here. Our number one goal with our members is a huge amount of support. So if you think about these hygiene factors and your burnout level, things we can help with, setting teacher pay rates, addressing the studio physical safety. So all of us have been looking at this with fresh eyes for the COVID policies, but really how important that is to your business operations. Opening and closing procedures, how the tools that you're using to report illnesses and absences. Gosh, we've been advocating tracking absenteeism for years, but now more than ever, it's important and we have ways to help you with that. the recital management best practices. I mean, gosh, we feature some experts who help with some of this contactless, ways to manage performance, whether you're doing it in studio, in a park, in a theater, we'll Zoom anywhere, we'll do it in person. Um, and then all the things, Jill, that are kind of like the unfun but most important parts of being a business owner.
Yeah.
Are you available to discuss concerns with employment-related issues, sick, subbing? I am literally, as we're recording this podcast, right before reviewing emails that one of our teachers was exposed to a positive case, we have to communicate to our teachers at our own studio that, hey, we got to go into that subbing plan we developed.
Right. And it's good that you had it developed. And I think that's what we really want to hammer home here is that if you have the procedures and the policies in place ahead of time, you don't have to always be in that reactive state, which brings your stress level up, which causes a lot of the burnout that we're talking about. So having a procedure in place. So it's not about what if this happens, it's when it happens. And when it happens, we're ready for it. I love that. And we work with so many of these industry experts to make it easier for you to put these policies and procedures in place. That's why we're here.
Exactly. When we do, and so for those of you guys that are listening, they're longtime members, we've been talking about this. If you're listening, you're curious about this. I mean, we've also gotten into really helping you communicate everything around furloughing employees, collecting unemployment. How do you set the right pay rate? We have a whole break-even analysis training on your expenses. We're getting into now some of the PPP forgiveness process, reevaluating your tuition rates. I mean, this is the ongoing work of the studio owner, and no kidding, it can bog you down if you feel like you have to do this without any guidance. So Jill, I mean, you have some things to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, the best part, and you led me right into my next talking point, is you don't have to travel, the studio journey alone. We are definitely here. And like you mentioned, if you're already a member, we know a lot of our members listen into our podcast, but we are so very grateful for you and for all of the things that you bring to our community. We hear you, we see you, and we appreciate you more now than ever. And if you're interested in learning more, a Dance Studio Owner membership grants you access to our supportive community, and it comes with the best resources and rewards in the industry. We help dance studio owners build their successful businesses while keeping that passion for dance alive, which is so important. We want you to be, completely ready to give everything that you can possibly give, whether it's virtually or in the studio, to your students and to your faculty and staff. More importantly, too, we provide you with inspiration. We remind you of your greatness. Suzanne, you are so fantastic at that. We love having you just lead the charge in our community, popping in and giving little tips and inspiration like you do so very often. So that abundance of gratitude just flows through regularly. And, we're really available to our members for support and encouragement. We get up every day just thinking about how we can make everybody's day a little bit better. So it's really our job here that it's not even a job, right? We don't even consider it a job because we are, you're a studio owner, I'm an educator, and we understand that running this business is hard work. So it can be lonely, and we have the community to support you. And we know that at times, your competition is fierce as well. So we would invite you to join us and let us be your guides on the proverbial path toward loving your studio business.
Exactly. So how does, if you're listening and you're not a member, where do they go?
So you can join us at dancestudioowner.com/podcast. And if you go to that link, you'll get some information, a little bit more information about who we are, and you'll have the opportunity to join us. If you're ready to do that, or if you'd like to know more information, you can always email us. Our email address is hello@dancestudioowner.com. So we are definitely here to give you that support when you need it most.
Exactly. And our DSO crew, that's who you would be a part of when you get that support. Our community connects on our private Facebook group, and Jill and I, gosh, I mean, if I'm not in the group, I'm just sleeping maybe, we're taking care of my kids, but we're really there for you. And everybody's so supportive. We really have created an environment where our members support one another, and you guys have so many great ideas. But I would definitely say that this is where people are turning to get through these, lows and highs of running the business. I am so impressed, and so are you, Jill, with our community, the creativity that's cultivated together, holding each other up when the chips are down, celebrating the wins. So yes, I would love to invite you, as Jill said, to become a part of our dancestudioowner.com membership crew. And don't forget, I mean, gosh, Jill, another thing that we do for you guys to try to help you, one less thing you have to worry about to help you avoid burnout, because again, we want you to be working on the things that light you up. You give out a wonderful monthly resource download pack of so much social media content. Can you say a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we call it our Power Pack, which is a fun name because it is so powerful. And within that Power Pack, you get the resources that you need to give your social media a little boost. It's inspiration. I even provide you with industry articles that you can put out to your fans, which would be your parents or anybody that's interested in some of the content, and it makes you look like a rock star. So we also have graphics and overlays that you can put on your own imagery from your studio, inspirational images and quotes. Suzanne is now working on our 2020 quotes and coming up with those because that's her jam. So it's really geared to give your social media a boost, or you could use it on your website. You can use it in your emails that you put out to your readers. It's a great pack full of inspiration and ideas, and whether or not you use everything or a part of it, it's a good jumping off point for anything that you do throughout the month.
Exactly. And it's awesome. And gosh, we pop in to our group with some monthly coaching. Sometimes it's you and I providing that. Oftentimes we feature other studio owners and industry experts and those that cross over between living the dream here of running a studio and having a solution. But also because we are part of the Revolution family of brands, you as a member get exclusive rewards. This is a very special part of our program where you get automatically 10% cash back on every costume you buy through the season. And we cumulatively add up your spend from July of the 2020 all the way through coming up April 2021, which is an extraordinary program. And you can even earn up to 20%. And in fact, last year, Jill, we gave out nearly $1 million in money back to our members, which felt so good to put that money back in pockets.
That was such an amazing time, to see that add up and then to give it right back to our members and the people that really put their heart and soul into making the dance world a better place. So it's a really good feel good program to give back. There's so much good that we do, and being a part of Revolution is amazing because we have all of the great costumes, even our members get 10% off of our RevRec line. So there's a lot of great benefits for sure.
Exactly. So, here's the deal. You guys listening, I know we have some awesome fans that you guys are members that listen. And if you're just thinking about it, definitely take some time to visit dancestudioowner.com/podcast. You can come on as a monthly member or save with an annual plan, but we are really here to help you recover from any burnout and also help you spark your passion and enthusiasm for your studio as we emerge from this pandemic together, because you are not alone and we are here to support you on the journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Suzanne. You shared such wonderful insights, such good information today. We are here to help you battle any type of burnout, especially now more than ever. It is a pleasure to be here and support our community.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Dance Studio 411. Visit us online at dancestudio411.com for more great resources and to submit a question for a future episode. Our number one goal is to help you build a successful dance studio business and keep your passion for dance alive.